Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope that you all are fine. Today we will have relative pronouns and relative adverbs. First, you have to log in using the aplusstudent.com. Click on your name, move on to language at the grade 6. The lesson will be identify relative pronouns, use relative pronouns who and whom. Hi to you all on the chat. Hello everyone. Hi. Okay, so we'll start now. Okay, so a relative pronoun introduces a dependent or relative clause. So it's introducing dependent clauses, okay? Or even the relative clause that describes a noun or pronoun. The five main relative pronouns are who, whom, whose, which, and then that. These are the five relative pronouns that we have. We have some examples here. All right, so the first one is the woman who lives next door grows tomatoes in her garden. So we have who lives next door grows tomato in a garden. Now Peter, whom you met yesterday, has four younger brothers. Emily, whose hair is quite long, likes wearing braids. I just read Jeanette's new book, which came out last month. This is the dress that I wore to my uncle's wedding. So all these are examples with the five main relative pronouns that we have. So if you move on to the examples, we have select the relative pronoun. I am not familiar with the route that research suggested. So you would have to choose the relative pronoun. This lesson is to identify. So we have that, and it introduces a dependent clause that describes the noun route. So that here would be what the relative clause or relative pronoun in the sentence. So we have this one also. The banjo, which is commonly played in America bluegrass music, originally came from Africa. So what is the relative pronoun here? We have which. Okay. So we have Miss Clark is a lawyer who specializes in labor law. So what is the relative pronoun here? We have who, okay? So it introduces a dependent clause that describes the noun lawyer. So in this particular sentence, this lesson, we will have to make sure that we identify the relative pronoun because we have five main of those relative pronouns, okay? So select the relative pronoun here. Okay, so first one is I'm more familiar with the route that Rusa suggested. What is the relative pronoun here? So our relative pronoun will be what? With or that. So that Rosa suggested. We are planning a special celebration for Dalton, who turns 30 next week. So what is the relative pronoun here? So who turns 30 next week? Okay. So select the relative pronoun here. Miss Clark is a lawyer who specializes in labor law. What is the relative pronoun here? So we have who specializes in labor law. Who, okay? So Leon has an excellent memory, which serves him well on tests. What is the relative pronoun here? Okay, so we have which serves him well on test. Are you happy with the people whom we elected? What's the relative pronoun here? So whom we elected. Okay. Brad, who loves to experiment with new flavors, took cooking classes in Thailand. So what's the relative pronoun here? Okay. We have who here. We just selected the relative pronouns here. So, Mr. Sharma, whose opinion I value, what's the relative pronoun here? We just have to identify relative pronouns. Yeah, so whose here would be what? The relative pronoun. Okay. Does the restaurant still serve the dessert that I like? What's the relative pronoun here? Alright, so that here is the relative pronoun, okay? The science fair, which grew over 100 contestants, was a huge success. What is the relative pronoun here? So, which is the correct relative pronoun here? Ella studies ikebana, which is the art of arranging flowers. What is the relative pronoun here? Okay, so we have which. Alright, so that's it for our lesson, which is identify relative pronouns. Can you tell me on the chat if you have any questions before we move on to the next lesson for today? Okay, all right. So we will move on now. So this one is use relative pronoun who and whom. So how can we use this relative pronoun? Okay. All right. So we know that relative pronoun introduces a dependent or relative clause that describes a noun or pronoun. So we have to take note of this. Now, the relative pronoun who and whom give information about people. So it's about people for who, whom. Okay. To figure out whether to use who or whom, we set the dependent clause with a personal pronoun. So if you want to figure it out, you have to restate it with the personal pronoun. If the clause uses a subject pronoun, which is he, she, and they, we use whom, who rather, okay? And then if it uses an object pronoun like him, her, them, we use whom. Okay, so if the clause uses an object pronoun, that is whom, and if it uses a subject pronoun, we use who, like this. So the woman who lives next door grows tomatoes in her garden. Now, who lives next door, right? So you can say she lives next door. All right. Now, Peter, whom you met yesterday, has four younger brothers. Whom you met yesterday. So you can change it and say you met him yesterday. So as long as you can restate it and one of them uses the subject pronoun correctly or the object pronoun, then you can know where to use them both. Okay. So who goes with the subject and then whom goes with the object. So let's look at some example. So complete the sentence with the best relative pronoun. Do I have any relative? It says whom I have never met before. Okay. So if you're restating this, you can say I have never met them, not I have never met they. Alright, so you can restate it using object pronoun. So whom will be the right one. Then complete the sentence with the best relative pronoun. I'm wary of Mira, dash I don't completely trust her. Whom I don't completely trust her. Okay, so whom, right? So if you're restating it, you can say I don't completely trust her. So once you say I don't completely trust her, then whom is the right one? An award will go to the person that collects the most what? Pledges, right? So who? All right. So you can restate it and say he collects the most pledges or she collects the most pledges, like that. You can restate it and subject pronoun would be correct. Okay, so let's move on to the test. So complete the sentence with the best relative pronoun. The Olympic divers that represent the United States will likely earn medals. Whom or who? What do you think? So you can say who represent the United States. So you can restate it and say they represent the United States. Okay? So Pam Dash is nervous around dogs, was cautious about approaching the neighbor's house. So whom or who? What do you think? So you can say what? She who, okay? Because you can say she's nervous around dogs when you restate. Brooke wanted a kayaking instructor. Dash had plenty of experience working with beginners. Who or whom? What do you think? So we will say what? Who also? So you can say he had plenty experience working with beginners if you want to restate the sentence. Stephen Patton is the person that decorate the auditorium before every concert. Whom or whom? So, what's the right one here? So you can say who also because you can restate and say he decorates. Okay. Will the volunteer dash we contacted be creating the flyers? So whom or who? So whom? Okay. All right. Okay, Alana considers Kimberly that she's known since kindergarten. She perfect the perfect companion. So what do you think is the right one now? So if you say who, it's wrong, but whom is the right one for this particular sentence. Okay? The electronic expert dash owns the camera shop can repair my damaged shutter. So what do you think is the right one here? So here we can say what? Whom? Saying that he owns the camera shop if we want to restate. Okay? Your friend Dash is in my algebra class, gave me a note for you. So who or whom? What do you think? So what? Who? Because you can say she's in my algebra class. The chef dash I took a cooking class from studied in Paris. Who or whom? Okay, so we have which one here? So whom? You can say I took cooking class from him. Miss Tran consulted the accountant dash her business partner suggested. So who or whom? What do you think? So so we have whom and you can say she consulted her. Alright, so that's it for our lesson on the relative pronouns. Can you tell me if you have any question about this lesson? And if you haven't done it before, you can complete the first two that we've done today. And the next time we meet again, we'll finish up the remaining two. But you can tell me if you have a question or not. Alright, so since we have no question, we'll end here for today. I hope you all have a good evening and see you all next time. Bye.